Hello everyone, Kaloki here. I'm doing another review of a draft I won recently. This draft is a Sapphire Wild draft, and I just wanted to go over this draft because it had it was kind of a weird draft. I didn't really know what I was going, and sometimes it's just like that. You got to pick up on signals, and it takes some time to figure out what you're gonna end up with, but you got to keep options open, and I think this draft is a good example of that. So here's the first pick we got here. Inferno's not that great of a rare. It's actually pretty bad, and so the main choices was between the Gladiator and the Guard Trainer, and I prefer the Guard Trainer there because it's just the Inspire mechanic is really good to give flight to everybody. Here I think the picks is either the Solitary Exile or the Sapper's Charge. Those are the two main cards I'm looking at. I think this Solitary Exile is better, but the Sapper's Charge is pretty good this early because you know you're gonna play it. You don't know if you're gonna be diamond, so it could be a wasted pick. Here I think pretty obviously the pick is the Mentalist. I was surprised to see it this late. It's the first pick worthy card, and the fact that it was still there, I was very happy to see it. And then in this pack here, there's not that much Sapphire. It's only the counter magic, and for diamond it's only a diamond aura. So I feel like, well, also the stone skin is pretty good, but I feel like the diamond is kind of getting cut here. So with this pack, just looking at what's available, I kind of have to make a decision, and I felt like, for some reason, I felt like Wild was just open. I felt like I was getting cut diamond, even though I got past the Solitary Exile. I haven't really seen any diamond commons, and I just didn't feel like the diamond was really coming as much as I had hoped for. So I decided to switch it up. It was kind of a pivotal pick right here. Is either go with the stone skin or take something else. And I believe what I pick here is actually the Sensei, which is kind of a strange pick, but I just felt like Wild was open. I don't know why. I just kind of got that feeling. Maybe it was just a gut feeling. Maybe it was just because the other colors weren't open. But luckily, this next pack, as you can see, it was kind of a good choice potentially, because there's a Briar Legion, a Wild Aura, and a Runear Commander, all excellent cards. The Wild Aura is probably the best card. It's an excellent trick, but Briar Legion, to get one and start picking them up early, can be really good. It's actually a really tough pick here. I don't know if I want to take the Scowl Griffin and just go against my gut feeling that Wild was open, or take the Wild Aura, which is just always a good solid trick, or try to take the Briar Legion and just start picking those up if I can. So it was kind of tough. I don't think I was going to take the Runear Commander, even though it's really good. I just didn't want to take it this early. I like to go that if I'm going like bunnies maybe, and have a bunch of troops on the battlefield. So I decided to take the Briar Legion, and then I was instantly rewarded. I see that there's another Briar Legion in this pack here. So back-to-back Briar Legions. I'm feeling pretty good about it. You know, if I can get 4, I think 4 would probably be the minimum I'd want to play. Maybe 3 if I could get some recursion or something like that. I'd take the Sensei there. I think that was the best card in the pack. Here I actually take the Malfunctioning Warbot over the Vine Trap and the Glimmerglen Witch. The Glimmerglen Witch and the Vine Trap are both good cards, but I think I can get 3 drops pretty easy, and 2 drops are a little bit harder to come by, and the Malfunctioning Warbot is a fine drop against decks that try to use the gem that make it so you can't block it except by artifact troops, so it's good to have some of those as a sideboard option, even if I don't run it main deck. Here I took the Feral Ogre last pack, and then I took the Oak-Edge Cemetery, or Ceremony here, I believe it's called, because of the Briar Legions, just so I can get to more Briar Legions. There I think the pick was the Howling Brave, and I took the Infiltrator bot because it's good with the Mentalist. And then this was kind of a tough pick. I don't like Shards of Fate that much. I really try to avoid playing decks that have to require Shards of Fate. And in this color combination, I don't think I'm going to need them if I go Wild Sapphire at this point. So I end up taking the Researcher Adept. I was basically trying to decide between the Shroomshaw or the Researcher Adept, because I thought there was still a consideration that I might go Wild Blood, and that card's pretty good in those color combinations, because you need a lot of stuff to sacrifice. So here I open up Wild Boar, which I don't like that much. I think the best card in the pack is the Brute. It's just such a good card with Spell Shield, a 4/4, and then if you can buff it up, it really gets out of control. So I decided to go ahead and take the Brute here over the rare. I don't like the rare that much at all. Here, this was kind of a tough pick, but I still don't know if I'm going Sapphire. I really didn't see that much Sapphire. I took a pretty early Guard Trainer and Mentalist, but other than that, not that much Sapphire came. And I don't like going into if I have stuff like Feral Ogre, which is double early threshold Wild, I'm going to try to go like probably heavier Wild. I don't like double threshold stuff, but that wouldn't really deter me from taking the Cloud Titan. But I think the Wild Growth is just a better pick there, since I'm not sure that I'm going to be going in Sapphire at this time. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going Wild. So I took the Wild Growth because it's an excellent trick, and a good chance I'm going to be running it. And in this pack here, the Rockcaster is the best card in the pack. and I was still considering maybe maybe going to blood. I'm not committed to wild. I'm not obviously not committed to diamond either. I just want to keep my options open. So in this pack, I'm surprised to see Elimination Specialist. I think that guy is just so phenomenal. Just an excellent value. I mean, even if you just have one artifact, he's like a big bomb smith. He's okay. But if you have multiple artifacts, you can just wipe your opponent's board. He's so good. And I'm always surprised when I see that guy passed. But you do usually have to be in like Ruby and Sapphire to get the most value out of him. So here I'm thinking, well, I could also still go mono wild. So I take the honey cap just to keep my options open. This pack, I think the main two picks I was considering between the Howling Brave and the Eulogist. Now, if I want to go mono, the Howling Brave is good, obviously, with the honey cap, but I think the Eulogist is just the better card. And if I go wild blood, which is an excellent shin hair color, that guy can be a win condition. So I take that, and then I also take the Bullpaw Wizard here. I really like this guy. A lot of people probably wouldn't have taken him. It's pretty early to take this guy because he usually goes pretty late. But he is very, very effective, especially in like shin hair decks where you have a lot of troops you can sacrifice. So I end up taking him, and then I see a very late Boulder Brute, which I'm very happy about. So I picked that. I think that's easily the best card in the pack, and to see one that late was just a gift. And then this pack was just filled with stuff for us. The Survival of the Fittest I think is better than the Wild Growth. I didn't really have that much removal, so that was much needed, and I was happy to see that. And then here I took the Evolve. And then I take the Sensei there, which I was happy to see that, and then another honey cap. So the mono wild dream is still looking pretty good, and also I've got options. I could still go mono or wild Sapphire or wild blood. So I think what you really need to do when you're drafting is take figure out what kind of deck you want. Like, you got to be working towards some goal, and you got to keep your options open. You can't just commit to one thing because you don't know what future picks you're gonna receive. So I could go a bunch of different routes here. I think I'm gonna take the Wild Aura here. I think it was the strongest pick in the pack. And when I have two Boulder Brutes, I think that's just easily the right pick. Again, we see another Elimination Specialist, which I'm not happy about, but it doesn't beat. If I go wild, like mono wild or just wild in general, usually you have bigger guys, and Elimination Specialist is less effective if you have bigger toughness guys. You don't run the risk of them just being able to play that guy and kill like 3 of your guys if a bunch of your guys are really big. So I took the Boulder Brute over. Now I got 3 Boulder Brutes. It's looking great. Again, I still have options as far as if I want to go mono wild or wild Sapphire or wild blood, but I'm not seeing as much blood as I wanted. In this pack, I think I take the Effigy. It's just it's a solid troop. It's a 3/3 for 3 in wild, which is excellent, and it's an artifact, so it can block a lot of those troops that are usually unblockable. It's good to have some artifact troops in your deck. Here was kind of a tough pick. I really like the Rooster Sword. I think if I was going bunnies, I would take the Rooster Sword, but it looked like I wasn't receiving as much blood cards as I had hoped I would be, so I don't think I just decided against going blood at this time. So I believe I take the Feral Ogre here, which it's still a really solid troop, but the Rooster Sword can get out of control. The only thing about the Rooster Sword I don't like is that he has 1 defense, and 1 defense is very easy to kill. Like, they can just kill him when after you've attacked and tapped out, or they can just do a -1/-1 effect on him and just kill him, and there's nothing you can do about it. Here was another tough pick: is the Pheromones or the Survival of the Fittest. I think Pheromones is an excellent card, and I'd be happy to take that if the Survival wasn't here. But I think Survival, just the fact that it's a quick action, you can sometimes get some more value out of it just as a trick. It's good, solid removal. I think I went ahead and took the Survival here. The Pheromones, it's kind of situational. It has multiple uses, which is awesome. So there's more situations where it can be effective. But I think the Survival is just a better card in this deck currently. One thing to note is we did not see any more Briar Legions. We got back-to-back Briar Legions early in the draft, but we haven't seen a single Briar Legion. I mean, maybe there was one over like some first pick we had to take, but we just haven't gotten any more. So over the Evolve, I take the Vine Trap because most likely if I don't see any more Briar Legions, I'm not going to be playing just those 2. So my 3-drop slot is later than it looks. So I took the another Moon Sensei there because it's just awesome. And then we got another Boulder Brute. So we got 4 Boulder Brutes now. So at this point, I'm thinking with 4 Boulder Brutes, I could just get away with going Feather Drifting Down River and just make those guys 4/4 flying Spell Shield, and basically make it so you can't target them, and it's just such a threat for your opponent. So I think at this point, that's just that's what my strategy is, and I just cut a guard dog there because I'm just taking picks that I think are the most effective against my deck, and just to make it so my opponents don't have those answers. So this is how the deck looks out after I built it. It's I did decide to go with Feather Drifting Downriver. My only 2 Sapphire cards are actually Guard Trainer and the Mentalist. So I mean that's really all we need. I just went pretty much heavy wild. I have a ton of troops. I don't have a whole lot of tricks. My only 2 removal spells are Survival of the Fittest, 2 Survival of the Fittest, and that's it. You know, I've got a Wild Growth, which is a nice trick, and Evolve, and a Wild Aura, but mostly I've just got troops, just tons of troops. So my main way to win is just get those Boulder Brutes out there, which can't be removed, and just get them big with the Wild Aura, or Evolve them, and then just get them in the air. That's just basically what my plan is. You know, you got to have a plan when you're trying to build a deck, is how you're going to win. And that's basically how I'm going to win with the Guard Trainer and the Mentalist, to just evolve those guys, and then once they're out, they can't be removed with other than like combat tricks or mass removal. It's very threatening and tough for your opponent to deal with. So I like the deck. I wasn't thinking it was that great. You know, it could have been a little bit better. You know, it took us a while to figure out what we were going to be going, so we wasted some picks that could have been better for us. But you know, that's just kind of what you have to do. You got to get a feel for, you know, what your opponents are doing, and unfortunately, we didn't open anything. We don't have any bombs. It just looks like it's just going to be a pretty consistent, you know, semi-solid deck. So I would have liked to have a little bit more removal, but that is what we ended up with. All right, so here is the first matchup. We're against a Dimid deck here, and I always decide to draw first for the most part. I love the card advantage of drawing first. I don't usually play aggressive decks, and even if you do play aggressive decks, you run the risk of having just poor hands that you know, the card advantage could make up for that stall if you get stuck on 2 shards or something like that. I just love the advantage of the card advantage of drawing second, just the consistency of it. So that's what I usually opt to do. As you'll see in a lot of my videos, I draw first the majority of the time. Sometimes, you know, there's obviously exceptions to the rule for me, but if I'm playing a very aggressive deck, or if I have things that can you know, give me card advantage, like Oracle Song, sometimes it's better to play first if you have Oracle Song, because if you don't do anything before turn 3 and then you Oracle Song, if you're on the draw, then you're going to have to discard a card, and I don't like that. So I don't mind sacrificing the card advantage, you know, if I have things to make it up in my deck later on. But this deck, I don't really have that much card advantage other than the Mentalist, which I'm going to play right here. And this guy, he just played a Shield Trainer. I don't know if you noticed, but he actually blocked Sensei with the Shield Trainer and didn't have any tricks, just an even trade, which I thought was not that good for him. I was surprised to see that. And so my guy's just a 1/1, doesn't do anything, but his guy is actually going to buff up a lot of his troops. I don't know if he was just afraid of taking some damage there, but he's at 20 life. I thought it was way too early for him to just make that trade. He's got a guy in the air that mills me, so I don't really know what his strategy is. He doesn't have the mill champion. He's got the life gain champion, but he's playing this troop that is primarily there for milling. That's his main effectiveness, is milling deck cards off the deck. So I don't really like that combo. I think if you're going to play that guy, you should be playing a more mill style deck. He's not that good at just, you know, getting damage through. So so far, I haven't seen anything too worrisome from my opponent, and I'm just building up my board here. I actually didn't attack with the Mentalist last turn because he had some resources open, and I was worried about the repel. So I figured I'd just play it safe, not risk the repel, because I knew I'd be playing a Boulder Brute this turn, and I played the Boulder Brute, and now it has that effect. It's got flying. I put the flying on it, and it has the whenever it deals damage, I draw a card, inspiration effect on it. So I felt like missing out on 2 points of damage to make sure that I can get the inspiration effect on that Boulder Brute was worth it. And so this time, now that I've already got the guy out there, I figured I'd just go ahead and risk him having repel. If he repels my Mentalist, I was just like, so what? I've already got the Boulder Brute out there that he can't deal with. I felt like it was worth taking the risk here. So I swing in with everybody, and he does have the repel, but to my surprise, he repels the Ogre, which I was like, totally okay with. You know, if you're going to kill anything, I would kill the Mentalist because of the card advantage, but this guy just appears to be really concerned about taking extra damage, which I don't think. You got to use your life as a resource. You can't be too afraid to take some damage, especially when you have a champion like Dimid who can gain life back later on. I guess he just wanted to prevent that extra damage, just like when he blocked with the shield trainer with my Sensei. I think he's just a little bit too worried from taking damage. So I think the card advantage is way more threatening than the damage I'd be dealing. So he should have in my opinion killed the Mentalist. He decides to swing in there. He gains 1 life from Dimid. You know, not that big for him. And then I've got I don't know why he attacked, because I've got so much attack on the board for my counter attack. Even with the 1 card in hand, he had the answer for one of my guys, but I can still swing in for 9 damage, and he's got no cards, no effects, obviously. So that's just that's the end of game 1. Going to game 2, I'm looking at the sideboard, and I'm trying to think about what would be effective against this guy. And actually, I feel like I kind of potentially built the deck wrong in one aspect, where I put 17 lands. I do have a Howling Brave, which is effectively a land. You know, it can die, but I also have 4 Senseis. When you have 4 Senseis, those guys are just going to be basically cycling through the deck to draw more and more cards. So I feel like running 16 lands when you have that much card draw is okay, and you only need 2 lands to get the Sensei going, or 2 shards rather. So to most of the time in my sideboard, I switch out. I take away one wild shard, and I put in, you know, other things. But I just make sure I go down to 16 lands, because I think 17 lands in this deck is just a little bit too much, because I have the Brave and all those Senseis. So I switch out some stuff. I actually decided to go a little bit more aggro. I put in some Ronins, because against this guy's deck, he seemed kind of slow. He didn't seem to have a whole lot of defense, so I felt like maybe I could overwhelm him with some early Ronins and just get some early threats on the board. But I didn't have a whole lot to sideboard against him, you know. And then luckily we just draw 2 Ronins right off the bat in the opening hand. The Ronins aren't that amazing, but they are pretty good. They're usually better if you have some more growth, and I only had the 1 wild growth and wild aura. But still, on turn 1, it's still an excellent play. You know, it can grow pretty quickly and do some damage. And also with the Feather drifting down river, it can kind of turn it into a Thunderbird late game if I need to. But this guy seems to have a whole bunch of flyers, so I don't think that would really be as effective. I'd rather save the Feather drifting down river champion power for my Boulder Brutes. So he just played the 1/1 Acolyte, which is fine. It's pretty good against me. I don't have a whole lot of flyers until I get my Boulder Brutes flying, and then I just am playing my Ronins, and we're just kind of trading damage for damage. He, he attacks for 1, plays an Effigy here, and just passes it to me. So now I can't attack with my other Ronin. I could try to bluff like I had a growth spell, but I don't think it's just a good opportunity. I don't think he cares about that guy enough where he wouldn't block with it. So I swing in with just the 1, gets big enough to trade if he decides to block, and if not, I get the 2 damage in, then play an Effigy of my own. So he plays a sword or a shield trainer and a Pegasus during his turn, gains some life, and gets a 2/2 flyer out. And swings in, I believe. Yep. So he uses a Dimit ability, gets some life back, and he's still just pushing through damage in the air. So I decided to just play the Sensei and then play the Ogre. But before I played the Ogre, I decided to attack. I played the Sensei just in case I could draw like a combat trick or something, like a survival of the fittest, just in case I needed it. And I offered to trade my Ronin for my Pegasus or my Effigy for both of his guys, and he didn't want to take either of those trades. He took the damage, which I think is completely fine. And then I pass the turn to him. He plays another one of his guys, the mill guys, the spawn. Takes a while to think about what he wants to do for his attack phase. I believe he kind of changes his tactics. Like, he's been on the aggressive for most of the game, but it looked like maybe my board position was getting a little bit threatening. And, you know, like I said, this guy, based off his first game plays, doesn't like losing life that much, so he decides to hold off. And I draw I play a Mentalist rather, and basically, I'm just looking for another land or another shard. Once I get that 5th shard out there, I can play the Boulder Brute and give it flight and basically block his whole team in the air, and he can't get rid of it. So he's got no cards in hand, but he did play a very good card. The Shell Save Sure Shot is an excellent card, especially if you have the Shield Trainer out. You know, both of those troops got inspired. So it's stalling the ground up a little bit. I still think he should be probably a little bit more aggressive in the air with his swings, not just swinging with that one guy, especially after you played 2 troops on the ground to stall. But after he does that, he passes the turn back to me, and I don't draw a resource, unfortunately, but I decide I need to get this Boulder Brute out, and that's going to be my way to win, is a Boulder Brute in the air. So I kind of want to trade some of my guys for some of his guys in the air, so that way that they won't be there to block my Boulder Brute in the future. So I decided to go ahead and attack. Plus, before he gets his Turtle Pet active, so it can prevent the damage to the Shield Trainer. Maybe he'll trade or something. Maybe he just make make a misplay. I'm not sure, but I decided to just go ahead and attack with all the guys that aren't just going to, be able to get blocked and die and not trade effectively. So he decides to block the Feral Ogre with the 2/2 Effigy and the Ronin with the Pegasus, which is fine with me because it clears up the air, which is one of the things I wanted to do. But before I decided, I actually kind of had to think about this a little bit, but I decided to go ahead and survival of the fittest here and kill the turtle pet before the damage resolves and my Ronin dies. That way, even though my plan to win is in the air, if he gets that turtle pet live to prevent the 3 damage to the 3/3, it's just going to stall up the ground so much, and it's just going to be tough. He can swing in with it, and I don't really have any blockers other than I could play the Vine Trap, but I just wanted to get that thing out of there as soon as possible before it got online. It may have been a misplay. Maybe I could have saved it for something in the air later on when I'm trying to win with the Boulder Brute. But I just wanted to get that out of there while I had the chance. He just decides again to attack with just a spawn and then passes the turn, and then I draw my my 5th resource. So finally I can play the Boulder Brute. I decide beforehand to attack with the Effigy, and he actually he surprises me here. He only had 1 card in hand. I wasn't expecting this, but he has a trick of his own, a Diamond Aura, which is excellent for him. He decides to play that on his turtle or his human there and block and just kill my guy, and I have no answers for it. I just have to accept it. But I got my 5th shard, so I'm still happy I got to play that, and I've got a flying Spell Shield Boulder Brute, which is the whole point of this deck. And he doesn't have 4 attack in the air, and he's got no cards in hand, so I know I'm pretty safe to attack. But to my surprise, he attacks first into all my guys, and he does have that 5/5, which I'm not gonna trade for, but I'm definitely going to take advantage of this attack, knowing full well that he doesn't have any tricks in his hand. I can kill some of his stuff, and I could chump if I wanted to. And I was trying to decide, I could also just take the 5 damage from the sure shot because I'm still at a relatively safe life total, but I decided I'm going to go ahead and block, and it was between the Sensei or the Ronin. I opt to block with the Ronin because I'm not going to get any value out of him from attacking because he's got that steadfast guy now, so I might as well keep the Sensei because he does have that 1 attack, and then maybe I could combine block with that other Boulder Brute and the Sensei in my hand to finish him off, where the Ronin didn't have any attack unless I attacked, but he would just die. So during my turn, I decided to go ahead and swing in. I get to draw a card from the Mentalist effect, and I play my other Boulder Brute, and then pass the turn back to him. So he uses his Dimit ability on the sure shot, and then plays out a bottle, and then activates it with three resources available and 1 unknown card in hand. He decides to swing in. So I'm pretty confident he's not going to have any tricks here. It could only really have like a Bravery or a Sapphire Aura to buff it up. That's about it. So I go ahead and decide to block both of them. He could have Time Ripple to bounce my Mentalist and then kill my Boulder Brute, but I just thought the odds were so likely I went ahead and just double blocked there, and I just basically traded my Boulder Brute for his 5/5 Steadfast, which I was fine with. So now the board's looking really, really good for me. I've got the Boulder Brute here, and I decided to play the Boulder Brute first just in case he drew a Repel there. Usually I don't like to play things before combat just to keep the resources available for tricks to keep your opponent guessing, but just in case he had a Repel or some kind of removal spell, I played the Boulder Brute first and just went ahead and swung, and then he just did happen to have a Repel, so I was very happy that I played the Boulder Brute first. But now he's got no cards in hand again. He's only got a 1/3 flyer, and I've got a trick in my hand and board control, so I'm looking pretty good. And he just peels a Mystic Spirit Walker. Usually that's a very, very amazing troop. I mean, he always is, but at this point it's just it's not going to be enough to stop what I've got going on, it doesn't look like. So I'm not deterred by that. I've got the trick in my hand. I just go ahead and swing with both. I was considering Wild Auring to get the extra card advantage after I get the crush, but he doesn't even block at all, so I draw 2 cards, and then I can play my Guard Trainer and my Vine Trap there, and it'll get Flight. So he's at 4 life. Both of my Boulder Brutes are lethal, but he activates the Dimit and swings in with the Mystic Spirit Walker. And I believe I just decided to take it. I'm at 11 health. I'm not too worried about going down to 7, and I do have the Evolve in hand, so I wanted to keep all my troops alive. So I just decided to go ahead and cast the Evolve. I didn't really have to. He has no cards in hand. At this point, it's just over. But I guess I'm just being a jerk and casting all my stuff. I don't know. You gotta have fun. Play the cards you have. So that's game. His deck was okay. It wasn't that threatening. We didn't see any bombs from him. But this matchup here was a lot tougher. This Andrew player actually was very, very good, and his deck was very, very solid. So this is a pretty interesting matchup, and I think I was actually pretty worried. I didn't think I was going to win this at a few different points in the match. So he's playing dwarfs. It looked like, yep. So he's got the Bertram and he's got the war plans. So he can just start tapping his worker bots to get that 5/5 crush guy. And I decided to play the 3/3 guy over the other two just so I have that added power because I have a survival of the fittest in hand just in case there's something I need to kill. And he does play something that I want to kill, a Mentalist, which is an amazing card. So it's not that good in dwarfs, or not as good in dwarfs as it is in some other decks, just because, you know, you have things like the Warhawk plans, which don't get inspired, and sometimes your Terror bots get reduced in cost, so they actually aren't 3 cost or more to get the inspiration effect. But nonetheless, it's still an amazing card, and I wanted to get rid of it. I used Survival of the Fittest there, and just use that instead of playing the troop. And then he plays this Cloud Titan, which is something I passed earlier on in the draft, and I kind of regretted when he dropped it on my face in turn 5, because it's such a beating for me right now. I don't really have anything I can do about it. So I just decided, like, based on my hand and that he has board control already with 4 cards, I just decided the only way I'm going to win is if I, like, try to get aggressive. So I swing into his guy with no tricks, thinking there's no way he's going to block there because that guy's such a threatening and valuable troop that, you know, he just assumes that I have a trick if I swung into him. So I was right. He doesn't block, and luckily we get the 3 damage in. He just doesn't decide to attack. He just holds it back because he's got the war plans now. He can, you know, kind of be more defensive. His board state's developing. Every turn that goes by, he's just getting closer and closer to those 5/5 crush troops that are just going to be really hard for me to deal with. So I just decided to play 2 guys and just pass the turn, and he gets one of his 5/5 crush guys out on the battlefield. And then he plays a turreted wall, and he decides to attack with the Cloud Titan now that he has some ground blockers. So I take the 4 damage. I'm at 18. The game's still not looking that good. I've been drawing a bunch of shards here. I do cast the ceremony to try to look at see what troop I can get. And out of these options, the guard trainer is the best troop, but it doesn't really help me in this situation. I have my charges available to give a troop flight if I need, which is the only troop I really want to draw right now is is one of the brutes, the 4 brutes I have. So I decided like the Sensei is probably the best choice, because I just need to draw to some more outs against, you know, his board state right now. So I decided to go ahead and pick the Sensei and play it, and then he just draws me another shard. Doesn't really help me. So I decided that I'm going to go ahead and try to, you know, return some damage since he swung in with his flyer. I'll just go ahead and give my my Effigy flight and swing in, do 3 damage. Even if I draw a brute next turn, I have a land to go ahead and, or a shard to go ahead and activate the Feather Drifting Down River champion ability again. He decides not to swing in with his Cloud Titan. Again, he's just trying to play patient. He's got the turreted wall. He's got, you know, cards in hand and 2 5/5 crushes now. He can afford to, you know, play a little bit more defensive because the game is looking like it's turning out in his favor, which I think is the correct play. Like I said, this player did appear to be pretty good. So I went ahead and blocked with the team here. Maybe could have just blocked with the 3 guys and not the Sensei just to try to kill it. But if he has a removal or bounce for one of my guys, he's going to kill another one, and I won't be able to kill his guys. So I felt like if I block with all 4 of those guys, I'll make sure I can kill that guy, unless he has something like a Ruby Aura or something like that. Unfortunately, because I did that, he did get to kill that Sensei, which means I can't triple block with the 2 witches in the Sensei to try to kill his other one. I was just hoping to draw something, but I just keep peeling shards off the top, shard after shard. Again, like I said, this deck can run off of 16 shards instead of 17 with the 4 Senseis I have. So he swings in, I triple block, hoping he doesn't have a trick, and he does. He has a Ruby Lance, which kills my guy. It's just basically game over. There's no way I'll be able to return from that. So I go ahead and concede. And then I instantly take away a shard and put in a T-Hex, 2 T-Hexes and an Infiltrator bot. But then I decide I can't take out a shard and put in a 5-drop and 2 6-drops. Like, that just increases my curve. So as I'm looking through my deck trying to figure out what's not good against him, I think I just decided to take out one of the hexes. I take out a Vine Trap, which isn't that good, and the other card I believe I'm going to take out is just the T-Hex, just to keep my curve low enough, you know, because I am still kind of worried. I don't like playing 16 shards that much just because it can be inconsistent. Even though I have a Brave, especially if I'm taking one out, I just can't play stuff that heavy. So I think after a while, it was kind of tough sideboarding against this matchup, but I felt like I just got rid of the T-Hex. The T-Hex is good in this deck. You know, it's great with the flight, with the Feather Drifting Down River, or the trainer that will inspire it with flight. But this is actually a pretty interesting match. I thought for sure I was going to lose this, but it's you know, this is the video that I'm making for the draft, and we wouldn't be here if I didn't come through. So you know, obviously we know how it's going to end, but it's it looked pretty grim. I'm sure you guys can see how it looks as it develops. But I go ahead and play a turn one ceremony. Again, I go ahead and opt to play first, or to draw first. You know, he's not playing that aggressive of a deck. I'd rather have the card advantage against him. Make sure that I have the consistency of, you know, getting to the shards I need, especially since I went down to 16 shards. Here I feel like I have the option between a Boulder Brute and a Sensei, and since I don't have a Boulder Brute in my hand, I went ahead and took that. I don't have all the resources to cast that Boulder Brute yet, but with the Sensei and 2 resources in my hand, I felt pretty comfortable that I could get to those resources eventually. So I went ahead and took the Boulder Brute, and he goes turn 2 War Hulk plans, which is you know, expected. And I decided to play a Sensei, which draws me into a survival, which is great. So now I have one of my removal spells in my hand. And he plays an Oracle Song, a Worker Bot, and then just passes the turn so he can make a counter at the end of my turn. So I decided to attack him with the Sensei here, because he's not going to trade with the Worker Bot. You know, he needs that guy for the counters and to make his stuff cheaper, stuff like that. Dwarfs really depend on their robots, especially early game. So I played my Guard Trainer here. Now this is where I just get annihilated. Like, I thought this was GG for sure. I try to bluff again because I'm thinking he's not going to block with his Sensei, or his Mentalist. That is such a good troop. I just do not expect him to block at all. That's all I'm thinking. It's just like he's going to value that guy way too high. He's not going to risk me just being able to blow him out. But the thing I didn't realize is that he had 1 resource available. And so I was pretty surprised when he blocked, but then I realized he had 1 resource available. Maybe he has tricks or something like that. So he does block, and so I decided, all right, well, this was plan B. I'll just go ahead and survival the fittest. You know, it's like 3 cards for 1, basically. Well, 2, because the Sensei kind of drew a card. But still, I don't even kill the guy. He burns my guy, and what a terrible turn of events for me. I'm just like, that was like the worst turn I've ever had in the history of this game. I was like, that was pretty bad. So I'm just like, you know, good job. I was about to just be like, you got it. I can't come back from that. But I decided, you know, to stick around and see what develops. So he untaps, and let's see what he plays here. He just swings in with the Mentalist, and luckily, I don't think he has anything for the Mentalist. Like I was saying, Mentalist isn't as good in Dwarfs as it is in some of the other decks. Still very good nonetheless, but he doesn't have any other troops that cost 3 or more to put on the board, so he doesn't get the Inspire advantage from the Mentalist. So I just play a Howling Brave and a Witch there, and he does finally get an Inspire troop, a 2/4 with Evasion, so that guy's going to start drawing him some cards. But I do have the Boulder Brute. And since it has Spell Shield, he can't tap it down with the Monolith, and I go ahead and give it Flight, and just pass the turn. So now he can't get through with anything except for the War Hulk, so I go ahead and take the War Hulk damage. And at this point, I'm thinking, this isn't looking good for me still. You know, this matchup, you know, is just I've been blown out earlier on in the game. I've lost a lot of card advantage. His board state's looking really good. He's got 2 War Hulks eventually. You know, he's got all this stuff going for him. The only way I can win this match is with my flying Boulder Brute. That's it. I'm feeling like, I mean, he's just got answers. He's got the Monolith to tap down thing. So I'm just like, I don't usually play like this. I hate giving up card advantage, but I decide I just have to risk it. Like, I just have to hope he can't deal with my flying Boulder Brute. So we didn't see a whole lot of flyers. He does have that 4/4 flyer. So I am kind of worried about that, you know, and especially since I'm giving him extra turns or extra chances to draw into it, but I feel like I just have to gamble here. So I swing in for 4, allowing him to swing back for 2 and draw a card, but I think it's just something I have to do. I decided to block here with my T-Hex and my Witch, because he can tap down my guy anyways with the Monolith, so I double block just so that I don't take any trampled or crush damage. And he just basically trades the T-Hex for the Warhawk, which is okay for me. I was hoping he didn't have any responses. But if he would have had like a burn or something, I think he would have killed my guy before I had a chance to block with it. So I was pretty comfortable that he wouldn't have any tricks there. And then again, my plan is still the same. Just swing in with the Boulder Brute. So I play that. The Effigy, try to use all my resources, you know, maximize the efficiency there, and you know, evolve before I can swing in. He taps my Witch, and then I swing in for 5 here, putting him down to 9. So I'm still at a pretty safe life total, and but you know, he's drawing 2 cards a turn basically, or getting 2 cards deeper into his deck every turn. His draw phase +1 off of the Mystic guy there. So Again, I untap. I've just got a handful of Boulder Brutes, and I'm just basically trying to put on as much pressure as I can. So I swing in with everybody here. Looking back at this, I shouldn't have swung with the Howling Brave. I feel like I needed that Howling Brave because he's going to be able to activate a Warhawk at the end of my turn, and then you can swing in. And if I have a Boulder Brute and the Howling Brave, I could double block and kill it, basically just trading a Boulder Brute for a Warhawk. But because, I just give him the opportunity to just basically block there with his Mentalist and kill it off, I don't have that option. So now he can swing back in. The only thing that's good now is he's at 4 health, and he can't swing back in with the Mystic if he doesn't have another flyer. So he can't draw 2 cards a turn anymore. So now that I got him low enough life, he basically has to chump block with that flyer unless he drew another one. And I held the Boulder Brute back because I wanted to double block with both of my Boulder Brutes just to stop the damage from the Warhawk. Because he could have just chump blocked it with the Worker Bot. So he doesn't draw another flyer to block it or anything to stop it. And somehow, after that terrible start, I ended up getting the win there at that game, and we're going off to game 3. So I did see that burn that destroyed me when he killed my guy. So I was about to just keep the deck the same way it is, but I think at the last minute I decided to take out the Infiltrator bot because he does have that burn, and just put in the second T Hex just because it's just a bigger, beefier guy that it'll be harder for him to deal with, and it only costs 1 more shard. Here we go. We're off to game 3, and it looks like a pretty solid hand. I got all my resources I need, and again, I think he decided to play. I would have drew, but luckily most people decide to play, and that's what I want anyway, so it works out in my favor. We got a ton of Senseis here, 3 Senseis, and we actually have a pretty good hand. I don't have the double wild yet, so I can't get that spell shield online for my Boulder Brute, but I have a bunch of Senseis to draw into it, and he missed a turn 2 Warhawk plans, which I thought was pretty lucky for me because he does have, I think 3 of them in the deck at least that I saw, but I guess he just drew one there, he plays one. And now I can start doing that. So I decide to, I decide to play the Witch here, just gain some life, get another troop on the board, and just pass the turn. So next turn, and I did notably draw the second Wild Threshold. So now I'm going to be able to get that Boulder Brute spell shield. If I didn't have that second threshold, I may not have played it because I don't want him to have an answer for it. Maybe like a Polymorph Dingler or something like that. I may just wait until I can ensure that he's going to survive. So I just play him out, knowing that he can't target it, and then he plays a Turret Wall with the Mentalist combo, which is awesome. He draws a card every turn. So I'm actually pretty scared of that. My plan was to Survival of the Fittest, the Warhawk, but now that he played that, I had to change my strategy. And I don't want him drawing 2 cards a turn. Like last game, I thought, I just had to sacrifice that and let him get the card advantage because it was my only way to win. But here, I feel like with only 2 cards in his hand, I really don't want him to get that card advantage. So I decided to go ahead and give my Boulder Brute flight. Put the Wild Aura on. I'm making him a 6/6, and then just swing in for 6, and then I believe I'll try to finish off the Turret Wall with the Survival of the Fittest. But that is a very, very strong combo in draft. If you can get the Mentalist early, like I was looking out for some Turret Walls. I believe I did see one, but it's I wasn't sure that I was going to be going Sapphire at the time, and it was very early that I didn't get to pick one up. But that is a great card to have when you have Mentalist. I just finished it off with my Survival of the Fittest, and then at the end of turn he puts in the Warhawk into play. So now he's got the 5/5 Crush and the Mentalist, and he actually decides to swing in here. So I'm thinking that's kind of interesting because I could double block with the Witch and the Sensei and kill his guy, but I just decided, because I have Evolve in hand, I don't want to sacrifice a bunch of guys. Like if he has a trick and then I lose 2 of my guys, it makes Evolve way less valuable. So I just go ahead and just take the 7 damage. That's fine. And then here I actually had a tough choice. I could play the Sensei. If I draw into another Shard, then I would have 5 Shards left over for Survival and Evolve, but it's a big gamble. I kind of just wanted the Survival open just in case. So even though I missed out on playing a troop before I evolve, I decide that I should probably just evolve right here and keep Survival of the Fittest resources available. And another thing to note is I wanted to evolve right now because he's at 14 health, and it makes my Brute 7/7, so it's basically a 2-turn clock for him. He needs to either get a flight troop or I don't know what else he could do, but that's basically it. I mean, this guy is going to be a problem. A 7/7 Crush flying troop when he's at 14 is just so strong. So I go ahead and play that, and then I wanted to keep the Survival resource up just in case he had any tricks or something. I could maybe Survival in response. But I'm at a pretty healthy life total, so I don't have to play too cautiously. I doubt he's going to be able to finish me off with anything. So I just decide play the Sensei because I do have 5 power now, so I could triple block his Warhawk, but and there was also a chance I could still draw the shard anyway. So I do draw the shard, and now I've got Survival of the Fittest open. I've got five power to block his Warhulk, so I can triple block, and if he has any tricks in response, I can survival. But that's it. He just didn't draw a flyer, couldn't answer that 7/7 crush guy in the air, and we get the win. So that's what this deck was designed to do, and so far it's been pretty effective at doing so. So we're in the finals here, and we're up against a Zerid deck, which is, you know, the -1/-1 champion. Not that big of a threat against our deck. And he plays a turn 1 strategist, which makes it so he can tap down guys that have like less power than whatever he hits, the troops that he inspires. So it's a pretty good troop, I guess. You know, I haven't used him too much, but he can be good in certain decks. But I go ahead and decide to play a Feral Ogre turn 2 over a Sensei just to get the pressure on. Then I play the Sensei, and here I decide to get another Sensei just because I wanted to get to the 5th shard as soon as possible. So I took that over the 2/4 guy just to make sure that I get that Boulder Brute out as quick as I can. So he plays a 2/4 guy, which actually really puts some stall on me. I can't swing in with the Feral Ogre anymore. I don't really want to, you know, pretend like I have any tricks or anything like that. I'm not going to waste Evolve just to, you know, push through a little bit of damage. So I decide to just play a Sensei and see what I draw. And unfortunately, we don't draw into a shard, then we don't draw into a shard again for our turn. So I just play the 3/3 guy and pass the turn. So he's slowly, you know, adding some air force out there and just doing some damage to me. And there's not much I can really do about it at this time. Then he has a Rockcaster as well, kills one of my guys. So it's okay as long as I draw a shard, and I do. So now I've got this, you know, this guy that's just so effective, so powerful. 4/4, you can't target him in the air, and he just stalls his whole board. You know, and he's got no cards in hand, and I've got 6 cards in hand. So, like, the board state is, like, stalled right now, and I still have all of these options. So, even though it looked bad in the beginning, just having that guy out there that's just so tough to deal with. The only way he's going to be able to kill him is if I block, and then he has, like, a combat trick to buff up one of his troops. And in Sapphire Blood, those are just not common. It's just like Blood Aura and Sapphire Aura. That's pretty much it. And those are only +1/+1, so I can block pretty safely. So I decided to go ahead and evolve now that I have all those troops out on the board, and just pass the turn again. And then next turn my plan is to get a little bit more aggressive. So he just plays a Darkspire 3/2 guy, not that big a deal. And he still has 1 card in hand with 4 shards open, and he passes it to me. So I decide that it's time for me to start swinging. So I swing in there. I don't play the Sensei because I do have 5 casting costs worth of tricks in my hand, so I want to make sure that I have all the resources available to use them. Sometimes if I don't have any tricks, I'll Sensei just to get to a trick, but since I have a bunch of tricks already in my hand, I don't want to use my resources pre-combat on the Sensei. So he triple blocks, so I decide I'm going to Survival of the Fittest here on my my other Boulder Brute that's not going to be taking any damage otherwise, and kill one of his 2/4 guys. I could have also just Wild Growth my Brute, making him an 8/8, you know, and still killing 2 of his guys, but this is still effectively the same thing. I kill 2 of his guys, and this way I still have access to 2 separate tricks, you know, so that way whatever occasion may occur, I'll have choices. Where if I would have used a Wild Growth, all I would be left with is 2 Survival of the Fittest, and maybe those wouldn't, you know, be a good enough answer. But as it looks, he just played a card and then passed the turn, played a shard, passed the turn, and I just decided at the end of turn I would kill his other 2/4 guy, which would allow me to swing with all of my guys here, and you know, he wouldn't be able to just kill one of my guys by blocking without trading. So I decided to swing in here, and he decides to block. I could have just Wild Growth my guy. I don't think I did the math. You know, I wasn't expecting him to double block like that. So there's probably nothing he could have had that would have been able to stop that. But I decided to just not do the Wild Growth and just pass it. And then I also played the 2/3 Witch guy, which I shouldn't have done because I had so many lethal guys on the board. The only way he's going to survive that game is if he has like Extinction or something like that. That would just basically wipe the board. So when your opponent's drawing to that few outs, you know, as unlikely as it is, you still shouldn't overcommit to the board. You should just hold the stuff back just in case they do drop that Extinction, and then you still have, you know, like a plan B for recovering from that. But luckily he didn't have it. He conceded, and we're going to game 2 here. Basically, I drew again. I didn't want to have as many Sapphire Shards as I had, but it's still looking okay. And he actually plays a Wailing Banshee, which is a little bit of concern here. So now he's got a bunch of different evasion troops. I decided to swing in with the 2/4 just because, I'm not going to be able to block either of his guys, and there's a chance he might not block, and he didn't block, so I got 2 extra damage in that I might not have otherwise gotten if I opted not to swing. And then I just play the witch, gain 3 life, and get another guy on the board. So he swings in for 4, and then plays Rockcaster, such an effective troop, kills one of my guys, and then shrinks another one with his Zerid ability. So we get the Boulder Brute back out here, and now, usually he's enough to stop or stall the board, but he does have that Banshee that can only be blocked by artifact troops or blood troops, and obviously I don't have any blood troops, and I have no artifact troops, so I have to go ahead and let it go through, and then he has the Blood Aura, gets to gain some life. Luckily we have the Survival of the Fittest, so we can finish it off, but then he plays a Cloud Titan. So another Cloud Titan in this draft, and it's, it's really frustrating when I have the 4/4 Boulder Brute, because it just trades with it, and there's not much I can do. I just drew another shard, drew Mentalist here, which is okay, but it doesn't really help at this point in the game. He used Zerid on my guys, so now it's like putting me in a really tough spot. I feel like I was happy he attacked with the Rockcaster and with those guys. So even though I'm taking 4 again in the air, like he basically just like sacrificed 2 guys there. I thought that was kind of a bad attack. I wasn't at low enough life where he could just alpha strike like that for the most part. So even though I did take 4 more damage, I got to kill 2 of his troops, and now I still have the Boulder Brute available to just trade there. But it's still looking bad for me. I really need to draw stuff, and I just keep drawing shards. Unfortunately, I think in the sideboard I actually forgot to take out a shard in this matchup, and I really, really regretted it. As you can see, I just kept drawing shards, and I traded there. And then he plays a Zarlox, I believe his name is. Really good troop, and I draw a 3/2, which isn't good enough at this time. I'm at so low life. I decided to just go ahead and give this guy flight, so I could double block the Mystic. I just wanted to get the Mystic out of there and hope that maybe the Zerid didn't hit a troop, and I don't know. It was just looking bad for me either way. I probably should have blocked the Zerid, but I just thought it wasn't looking good. And he does hit 2 troops, and that was the end of that game. So instantly, as soon as we go into the sideboard, I take away a shard and put in. I was considering putting in the malfunctioning Warbot, just because it is a troop that can block his 2/2 unblockable guy. But at the end, I just decide, with the Effigy out there and with Survival of the Fittest, I should be okay. And I decided to just put in a bigger guy, because it didn't look like he had a whole lot of removal. So the 6/4 guy could be really, really good against him. This hand I wasn't too happy about. Again, even though with the 10/7, only 7 Sapphire Shards, I drew a bunch of Sapphire Shards, but I was on the draw like I like, so I decided to draw, and so I get one turn closer to that Wild Shard because of that. So finally I get that Wild Shard, and I decided to play the Mentalist first over the Effigy. Even though the Effigy could block his Banshee there, I decided to just go ahead and play the Effigy. I was really hoping he didn't hit anything, and he did miss. I think he revealed a Wild Growth there. So I play a Howling Brave to get that second wild threshold and an Effigy here. So I was still kind of worried, because he can use Zerid effectively after I block to shrink my guy, so it really puts a lot of pressure on me as how I block. But luckily, he just decides to just pre-combat just kill my Brave, which I don't think he should have done. Like if he swung in with the Witch and the Banshee, if I blocked the Banshee with the Effigy, he could finish it off with the Zerid. And if I try to block, take the Witch or block the Witch with the Mentalist, he could kill it after combat, after it had the 2 damage on it, so I wouldn't be able to block it. So he should have definitely swung in first, in my opinion, but he didn't. Here I decide I was actually going to, I gave my Effigy flight so I could swing in, because he's playing a color that, main removal is murder, and since it's an artifact troop, it won't be able to murder. And my plan was to also just kill his Banshee, but I decided with my hand, I can give my Effigy Wild Aura and basically kill any flight troop that he tries to put out there. So I decided to hold on to the Survival of the Fittest. And then again, I was considering killing the Banshee there, but I decided at the end of turn, since he mesmerized my guy, I was just going to trade it off there with the Survival and kill his 3/2 guy, and still have my Witch available that has the Mentalist buff. And then I can swing in, once he blocks with the Witch, buff it up with Wild Aura and Wild Growth if I want to draw some cards. So I just draw a shard, not the draw I wanted to get, but I decided to go ahead and swing in with both here. Pretty sure he's going to block the Witch with the Witch, and just try to stop me from drawing a card. And so that way my Mentalist can get through 2 damage. My Mentalist can't block the Banshee anyway, so no point in really holding it back. So I go ahead and go with it, my plan. He does have 2 resources available, but the only thing he can have in his color combination is a time ripple, I believe, to stop this from happening, and I hadn't seen one yet, and he only has 2 cards in hand, so the likelihood of that is very, very low. So I decided to go ahead and buff up, put both tricks on him. You know, it's just because he has Crush, I'll be able to draw a card off of that extra damage and get a little bit closer to one of my brutes if I need them. So he decides to call the grave my Effigy, which I thought was interesting because it still has that Mesmerize debuff on it. I mean, it does come into play ready like that, but once he swings with it, he's not going to be able to untap it. So again, I swing in, draw another card, and just starting to get a lot of value out of the Mentalist inspiration effect on my Witch. So he does decide to attack just to get one step closer to, or one more card, and then he plays the Rockcaster again, which, you know, basically kills my biggest guy. But I draw an Evolve here. I have my flight champion ability available to put on my Vine Trap, which has the Mentalist inspiration effect on it. But with the Evolve there, putting this guy in the air, that's 3 damage he can't block. The Feral Ogre has 4 damage Crush. It's just game. There's nothing he can do at this point. So it's basically good matches. I think the toughest opponent was definitely, you know, match 2. He had a pretty good deck and he was a good player, but I was still kind of worried. You know, I lost game 2 here as well, and the deck wasn't that phenomenal, but I just had to, you know, try to play as well as I could, and, you know, just work with what I had and just use the resources as well as I could. And I felt like, you know, I did a pretty good job with that. But I just wanted to show you guys how effective Boulder Brute is with the Feather Drifting Down River combo. Just getting that guy a 4/4 Steadfast or Spell Shield Flight troop in a color that has access to combat tricks that can buff up your troops. It's just so effective, and I mean, that's just, he won me just so many games. I mean, that was the point of the deck. But when you have as many Boulder Brutes as that, you can afford to just go that route. You know, you don't want to go Feather Drifting Down River if you only have 1 Boulder Brute. I mean, maybe you do, but it's not going to be as effective. But when you have multiple Boulder Brutes, you're just pretty much ensuring that you're going to draw one of them, and then being able to have that reliable way to give it flight every time you draw one with your champion power is just so strong that it's just good enough to win games. And I hope you guys, you know, learn from that and get to see another effective combo in the game that you know, can really take down draft tournaments. So thanks again, guys. I had a lot of fun making the video, and I hope you had as much fun watching it. So see you next time.